LSU wins game one of the College World Series, beating Arkansas 4-1. It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. LSU, 4-1 winners over the Arkansas Razorbacks. The Tigers move into the winner's bracket after a brilliant performance. Kade Anderson, 7 innings of 3-hit, 1-run ball. He struck out 7, walked only 2. Chase Shores pitched the 8th, flawless. Kason Evans pitched the 9th. After a leadoff single in the 9th, it was nothing but outs from there. In the 9th, after that leadoff single, strikeout, ground out, ball game. LSU into the winner's bracket in Omaha in the College World Series. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here. I'm coming to you live from Bar Harbor, Maine, and fired up to be here, man. Had a trip planned to go watch Yankees Red Sox in Boston. Did that on Friday. LSU playing Saturday night disrupted our trip to watch the Yankees Red Sox Saturday night. So we said, you know what, let's go up to Bar Harbor, spend the day, and then watch the game Saturday night, do the show, and then fly out of Boston on Sunday morning. So that's what we'll do. But fired up to be here, especially after that LSU win. So we'll dive into it here. Thank you so much for being with us. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for being with us. Really, this game, it's not hard to dissect. And we're going to get to your comments, questions, all that, so please fire away. But, you know, I loved LSU in this game when we did our predictions, and I picked LSU for one reason. Kade Anderson. It's an old axiom in baseball, but you're only as good as the next day's starting pitcher. And for LSU, they had the best pitcher in the country on the mound. You had a lefty throwing 97, a guy that might be the first pick of the draft. And as good as Zach Root has been all year for Arkansas, and he has been magnificent for Arkansas this year, LSU found a way to get to Zach Root in the second inning, putting up that 3 spot in the second. He got Root out of the game in the second inning, and ultimately it set the stage for what was to follow, which we'll get into throughout here. But when you had the 3-0 lead, it was on Kade Anderson to make sure that 3-0 lead held up, and he did. Anderson was just simply awesome. You know, if we look at Kade Anderson's stats, you know, throughout this game, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, just 2 walks. The only run he allowed was the solo homer in the bottom of the 6th. It was incredible for Arkansas, a team that led the SEC in batting average, a season low in runs with just 1. They tied their season low in hits with 4. And they only had 3 base runners the entire game reach second base. So an absolutely incredible performance by LSU starter Kade Anderson, and then following up with Chase Shores and Kason Evans to finish it off for LSU to push the Tigers into the winner's bracket. So a couple of things as we talk through this game. Again, if this is your first time ever being here, shout out. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I'll give you some thoughts on the game, grab a quick break, come back, get some of your thoughts, questions, comments, all that. So we'll get to it. So please feel free to drop your questions and comments in. You know, the second inning is really where it all started for LSU. And it started kind of ominously. Actually, it started in the top of the second with Stephen Milam striking out, swinging. But my goodness, after that, Hernandez drew a walk, Curiel drew a walk, and then Dickinson bunted for a single. I don't want to hear the conversation about bunting. He wasn't bunting to advance the runners. He was bunting for a hit there. Beautiful, got it down, got to first. So the bases were loaded. And then Chris Stanfield came up. And like he has done so many times this year, a veteran player who just knows his role within the offense, roped one down the left field to the left field side. It dropped, scored a run, bases were loaded. Braswell was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded, which scored Curiel, so you're up 2-0. And then subsequent, you had Pearson ground into the fielder's choice, which scored another run. So 3-0 LSU. Boom, boom, boom. Just like that. Team-centric baseball, keeping the merry-go-round going, understanding the roles at that point, what they had to do to get the offense going, and you put up a crooked number. And you had to feel great that 3 at that point was going to be enough for Kade Anderson. And ultimately, it was. 3 was plenty. You tacked on an insurance run in this ball game. It was in the 8th when you tacked on the insurance run in the 8th. And that's another one in the 8th, excuse me, as I'm looking at my notes here. That's another one. Both of your innings where you scored runs started with hitters striking out. In the 2nd, the inning opened with Milam striking out. In the 7th, it opened with Jared Jones striking out. But after Jones struck out, boom, Milam double to right field. Then you had, unfortunately, with 1 out, runner on second, Hernandez hits the pop-up to the catcher. So you have a runner on second with 2 out, and you're thinking, all right, this might be it. Well, at that point in the game is when Dave Van Horn made the decision to go get Gibbler and replace the reliever who had done amazing at that point. Gackle was awesome. Gackle's final line ended up being 6 innings, 1 run on 3 hits. He struck out 10 and walked 1. He was amazing. I mean, he gave Arkansas a shot to stay in the ball game. But I also understand that Dave Van Horn in that spot was going to a situation saying, let me go lefty on lefty here. He's playing the percentages. And ultimately he guessed wrong. And he went to Curiel. And by the way, Gibbler gets Curiel 0-2 on 2 wipeout sliders. Incredible. And then, boom, he left one over the plate. Curiel timed it up and got the RBI single. And just like that, LSU's up 4-1. Dickinson would strike out to end the inning. Tigers didn't get anything else in the 9th, but LSU was awesome. How about, by the way, your bullpen? One of the things we've talked about consistently throughout this year is the bullpen. The 2 Achilles heels, the 2 bugaboos for this LSU team all season. Bullpen, and in the final month of the season, it was the offense. But the thing we talked about with the bullpen pretty consistently throughout was, as I understand that early in the season, it was not great. But you were trying to figure out among the 15 players you had, who were the 7 or 8 you were going to count on when you got to the postseason. And you have very clearly identified those guys now. You've got, obviously, Anderson and Ianson, and you've got Evans, and obviously Shores, and you look at this bullpen right now, and you have 7 or 8 guys you feel great about. Now, We're going to see what happens with Zach Cowan in this tournament because you're going to need him. But even after Cowan and Evans, you're talking about Newt and Myers and a group of pitchers that you feel really good about going to get you outs. And it's this group of 7 or 8 guys that are going to be able to get you through this tournament. So this game was exactly what you wanted, man. It was a phenomenal game. Zach Root is an awesome pitcher. I mean, Zach Root's a guy from East Carolina that LSU desperately wanted in the transfer portal. He picked Arkansas. He allowed 5 straight base runners in that second inning. That's the longest streak of his career of consecutive base runners reaching. And not getting out of the second for Zach Root was the shortest outing of his career. For Zach Root, he went 1 2/3. That's the shortest outing of his career. So, I mean, you think of it this way and you go, here's a guy that was so good at East Carolina, has been Arkansas's ace this year, and on the biggest stage in the biggest moment, your offense got through against him and got him out of the game in the second inning for the shortest outing of his career on the biggest stage, while your ace went 7 innings and was throwing BBs, and the only thing he allowed was a solo homer. So in a battle of aces, your ace won out, and LSU moves into the winner's bracket. So we'll talk more about this game. I do want to talk about the lineup as well. I know some of you are going to ask about that, certainly, the lineup and what's next. So we'll get into that as well as LSU wins game 1, which means they'll play on Monday night, 6 p.m. Central, in the winner's bracket game against UCLA. So we'll talk about that as well as we continue. It's locked. Don't go anywhere. Get your questions, comments in. We're not going anywhere. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So, you want to bet on who's going to win the NBA Finals? You want to bet on who's going to win Game 5? You can do it all right now over at FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. So LSU wins game 1 of the College World Series against Arkansas, throwing the Hogs into the losers bracket. Kind of amazing that LSU was a slight underdog in this game, and I kind of get it because top to bottom, Arkansas was a better team. Arkansas had a better team batting average. They had the better team fielding percentage at .984, but it is the old adage of baseball. You're only as good as the next day's starting pitcher, and Kade Anderson was better than Zach Root, and it showed in this ball game as well. So now Arkansas will play Murray State on Monday at 1 o'clock Central in an elimination game. LSU will play UCLA Monday at 6 p.m. Central in the winner's bracket game. So this is a very familiar spot for LSU. This is what happened, if you remember, in 2023. LSU won their opener against Tennessee, went to the winner's bracket game that year against Wake Forest, but lost. They had to come back the next day on Tuesday, beat Tennessee, then beat Wake Forest Wednesday, Thursday to advance to the championship series. What you would love to see for LSU now, after having won the opener, if they win on Monday, they would get Tuesday off, and then somebody would have to come out of the elimination game. And while LSU had Tuesday off, someone would have to play an elimination game Tuesday, and then after playing Monday, we have to play an elimination game Tuesday, win, and then beat LSU Wednesday, Thursday. So someone would have to win 4 games in 4 days to advance past LSU if you were able to beat UCLA on Monday. Now, We know Anthony Ianson is going to go for LSU. For UCLA, their three best pitchers all year have been Michael Barnett, Landon Stump, and Ian May. And it was an interesting decision that John Savage made in the opener against Murray State. He started Barnett, who went 4 2/3, then went to Waylon Moss, who went just a third of an inning, and then went to Ian May. So Ian May, again, is one of their three best arms among their starters. Now, May only threw 13 pitches. He gave UCLA an inning. He threw 13 pitches. He faced 4 hitters. Excuse me. He had a strikeout, allowed 1 hit. But that means the one guy remaining who hasn't thrown yet among their best is Landon Stump. So Landon Stump is likely to be the guy that gets the ball against LSU on Monday. He is a righty, so we'll talk about what that means in just a second because I know y'all are going to ask about the lineup. So Landon Stump will likely get the ball. On the season, Stump has a 4.54 ERA. He has 17 appearances. He's 17 starts and 17 appearances. He has just 62 strikeouts in 73 in the third innings pitched. So not an overpowering guy, and 37 walks in 73 in the third innings pitched. So you're talking about a guy that is not going to overwhelm any offense and certainly not going to overwhelm the LSU offense. Basically to say, when you throw out Anthony Ianson, who is third in the country in strikeouts, Ianson against Stump, you have a massive disparity in starting pitching. In this game with LSU and Arkansas, you were talking about two guys that were very comparable. Now, I know Kade Anderson is 97 from the left side and a guy that might be the first pick in the draft. And so that's why I liked LSU in this game. I mean, I don't feel like that was a homer pick. I was going with the better pitcher, which was Kade Anderson. Might be arguably the best pitcher in the country. And Zach Root's a very good starter, but Kade Anderson's a tick better, and I went with the better pitcher. When you're talking about Ianson and Stump, there's a massive gap between the two of them. So this is exactly how Jay Johnson would have drawn it up, is that now you're going to play a UCLA team where you have a massive disparity in the starting pitching. And if you're able to move to 2-0, now you'd get Tuesday off and you'd be able to reset everything to have every option available to you on Wednesday to win a game. And if you did that on Wednesday, you'd get Thursday, Friday off, and you'd start a championship series and go Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and you'd reset Anderson, Ianson. So that's a best case scenario for LSU if it were to play out that way. So you're going to play UCLA. Again, it will very likely be Landon Stump getting the ball for UCLA against Anthony Ianson from LSU. Okay, a couple of other things from this ball game here tonight, and then we'll get to your questions and comments. We appreciate so much for you being with us here. I know the thing a lot of people are going to ask about is the batting order. They went back to the order that they used against the starting lefty from Little Rock, where Pearson was in right. Led off. We saw Curiel drop to the 7 hole. I don't love that. It just doesn't make a lick of sense to take a guy that leads your team in on-base percentage and move him into the 7 hole. You want your best on-base percentage guy to be at the top of the order to get on base for your run producers. But in this instance, whatever. You pushed across 4 runs. You chased their starter early. It wasn't like you bludgeoned the baseball. LSU on the day finished with 4 runs on just 6 hits. So you only managed 6 hits in the game, but they were timely. Milam had 2 hits in the ballgame, including a double. Of course, Stanfield had a big RBI producing single as well. And then Braswell got hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. So you made it work. But whenever you face Stump on Monday, it's a righty. That means very likely what you're going to see is a reset of the batting order to what we're accustomed to. Curiel will go to the leadoff spot. Pearson will go to the bench. Brown will go to right field. And you'll see sort of that reset where you'll see Curiel, in the leadoff spot, Fry batting second, Milam switch hitter, which means he'd be from the left side against the righty, batting third, and then very likely Jake Brown fourth, and then from the left side, and Jared Jones fifth from the right side. So it's very likely what we're going to see on Monday against the righty from UCLA. So maybe this is the path that Jay Johnson's going to follow for the remainder of the tournament, depending on if you're facing a lefty or a righty. But what we know is that Pearson will be in the lineup against a lefty, and Brown will be in the lineup against a righty. And if, in fact, it warrants, Pearson will be at the top of the lineup. So it wasn't a great day for a lot of the LSU hitters, mostly because Gackle was great out of the bullpen, going 6 innings of 1 run, 3 hit ball, striking out 10. He was fantastic in this ball game. The only LSU hitter with multiple hits was Milam. Milam was 2 for 4 in the game. And the only 2 times they got him out, he struck out twice, but he was 2 for 4, including a double. Hernandez had a single. Curiel had a single. Dickinson had a single. That was the bunt single that he had. And then Stanfield had the big RBI single as well in the second inning. So all things considered, a day where you go 6 hits isn't anything to write home about, but I'm not worried about 6 hits when you're facing another team's ace. And then the guy who was supposed to be their Friday night guy at the start of the season, who's their best bullpen arm. It's one of the things we've talked about over the last month where we've talked about LSU's offense maybe struggling a bit. Not worried about LSU's offense struggling against Liam Doyle, who's 100 from the left side. I'm not worried about LSU's offense struggling when you're going to go face Ryan Prager from Texas A&M, who was awesome in the College World Series a year ago. Not worried when your offense may struggle against Rude or Gackle, these elite level arms. I mean, it's the same. Like, look, put the shoe on the other foot. Arkansas was the best offense in the SEC this year. They averaged as a team a 314 batting average, and they got completely handcuffed. Arkansas's final line today was 1 run on 4 hits. I mean, this is the best offense in the SEC this year. 1 run on 4 hits, season low of runs, tied for a season low of hits. And they only had a runner on second base 3 times. So, like, if you're an Arkansas fan today, are you ticked that your offense stinks? Probably not. You're probably looking at Kade Anderson going, hat tip. Like, that's why you might be the first pick of the draft. I mean, we're doing this show on a Saturday. Last night, Friday night, I was at Fenway Park watching the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. And I watched Aaron Judge strike out his first 3 at-bats against Garrett Crochet. Now, he homered in the 9th, but he went 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and a homer. But the point is, like, that was the only run. They were shut out until 1 out in the 9th. That's the New York Yankees. Like, it's hard to hit against a dominant starting pitcher. Even it doesn't matter if you're LSU, if you're the New York Yankees or the Arkansas Razorbacks facing Kade Anderson today, which is exactly what happened. So the Tigers get a win. Most importantly, they move into the winner's bracket. Of the utmost importance for LSU, as we've discussed, advancing, it's imperative to stay in the winner's bracket. And you got to win the first 2. You can't win the first 2 if you don't win the first one, and you did that against the best team in the field, or the best team you'll face in the field. So now you have a gigantic advantage on Monday against UCLA. If you win that one, you get a day off Tuesday, and someone's got to come back and beat you twice. If you manage to advance, then you set up Anderson Ianson for the championship series Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and hopefully LSU wins number 8. Okay, let me knock out a really, really quick break here. I'll come back. If there's anything y'all got, would love to hear your comments as LSU beats Arkansas 4-1. Tigers advance in the College World Series to the winner's bracket. If you're with us on YouTube live, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being there with us. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day. Okay, see if we can get some of your questions or comments here. Garth Vader, okay. Oh, that's not a good one. We're not doing that. Tyler, that's why I regret going to questions sometimes or comments. Tyler, I bet a lot of money if we see the Hogs again, they're going to throw Root unless they need him to make it to that game, barring we don't beat UCLA. So here's the thing with Root. It's a good point about Zach Root. So Zach Root in this ball game threw 38 pitches. So Zach Root would be available on Monday for Arkansas. And I would suggest or submit that if the situation arose, no matter what, if Arkansas is battling for its season, they'll throw Root. I don't think you're looking at a situation where they're going to hold Zach Root until they face LSU again. So, for example, if Arkansas on Monday is in a situation where they need to finish the game, I don't think they'd hesitate at all in a 3-1, 3-2 ball game to go to Root to finish it. I don't think that's ideal, but I think they would absolutely do it. And I don't blame Dave Van Horn at all for the decision he made, pulling Zach Root in the second. It was a 3-0 ball game. And you have to manage a tournament differently than you manage the regular season because the tournament is here to win a national championship. You're not playing a 30-game conference schedule. You're playing a week-long tournament. And so you're down 3-0 against LSU's best pitcher. It might be very difficult for your team to get you 3 against Anderson. So, I mean, I like it. I mean, I like the decision that Dave Van Horn made, and I think it was the right call. Now, that preserves Zach Root for any time they may need him. I just don't think he's going to get to a situation where Root is starting against LSU. Now, in a best case scenario for Arkansas, they blow out Murray State. They don't need Root on Monday. They come back on Tuesday, play another elimination game, and maybe Zach Root starts that game on Tuesday. After throwing 38 pitches on Saturday, 2 days rest, he could come back on Tuesday and start. Or if they didn't need him Tuesday, he could come back and start against LSU on Wednesday. I mean, that's certainly a theory and something that could happen. But in any event, I think LSU's in an awesome spot. Tiffany have some pretty awesome pitchers. You have great arms. It's something we've known. LSU has 8 guys that throw 95 or better. And it was a matter of identifying roles and getting those guys mound time and getting them comfortable. Isaac, why pull Shores? Great question. Because you know you're going to have a day off. And there's no sense in letting them see Shores longer or extending Shores' outing when you have a day off. So Shores threw, here you go. It's a good question. Shores threw 10 pitches and Evans threw 13. Neither of those guys extended at all. Both would be available for you on Monday if you needed them out of the bullpen. If you would have run Shores back out there, who knows what happens? Maybe he ends up having a longer outing. Well, certainly it's a longer outing. Maybe they get some hits off of him, seeing him. Who knows? But the bottom line is you were up 4-1. You needed 3 outs. You went to Evans. I have no problem with that whatsoever at all in that moment. So both guys got out there and threw a minimal amount of pitches, and both would be available for you Monday or Tuesday, provided you lose Monday. I don't think you will, but if you did, they'd both be available for you on Tuesday. So you're great. You're in a great spot. Let's see. Brian, your take on Stanfield bunting with the bases loaded. I'm trying to see where Stanfield bunted with the bases loaded. Hang on. Dickinson bunted in the second, but bunted for a single. Am I missing? Listen, my feeling always on bunting, and forgive me, I'm looking at my notes. quickly, but my feeling always on bunting, I've been very upfront with this. I loathe bunting, giving up an out to advance a runner. I am 100% of the time okay bunting to score a run or bunting for a hit. You're going to bunt to get a hit. Team shifted. Dickinson bunted for a single. Okay, great. They were playing back. He laid down a beautiful bunt. Single, bases loaded. Awesome. No problem whatsoever. I'm good bunting for a single. I'm good bunting to score a run. The objective is to score runs. In the same way that if you have a runner on third, less than 2 outs, you want the hitter to hit a ground ball to the right side or a fly ball to the outfield to get that run home, no matter what. Your objective as the hitter is to get the run home. I'm good with that. What I'm never okay with is giving up an out to advance a runner or a base, because statistically, your odds of scoring do not increase. That's where I have a problem. Let's see. Mark, believe Jay should put Bear in the 7 hole. Why? I mean, I feel like that's a little arbitrary. If you had a legitimate reason to argue that, I could hear it, but I don't know necessarily that I see that at all. Oh, there you go. He didn't bunt with the bases loaded. He showed bunt and single to left. Yes. Okay, so that's what you're talking. I mean, he didn't lay down a bunt. It was Stanfield's single in the 8th, right? That you're talking about. He didn't bunt. Like, this team shows bunt a lot, and I think sometimes they show bunt to try to throw off a pitcher or whatever the case may be. But no, I'm sorry. It was in the 2nd. Curiel singled in the 8th. It was in the 2nd. So you had the bases loaded after Dickinson bunted for a hit, and so the bases were loaded. And then Stanfield came up and he showed bunt, but then he singled to left field, which is why you don't bunt. Like, why would you give up an out right there to score a run when swing away and a base hit? So easy. Kade said Braswell bunted he didn't bunt. He might have squared a bunt, but he pulled back, was hit by the pitch. Again, another reason why you don't bunt, because mathematically, I'm not trying to have the bunt argument with y'all, but the bottom line is, when you just look at the mathematical probability, you can get a single, a double, a triple, a homer. You could walk, hit by pitch. There could be a wild pitch. There could be a pass ball. There could be an error. There's so many more options that could happen if you swing away than if you just give yourself up, which is a big reason why I don't like bunting and why bunting is at historically low levels. People don't bunt. Anyway. Chance, do you think Einstein will be fired up to pitch against UCLA as a Cali kid? Maybe so. I don't know if that really runs super deep in him. I don't know if he grew up as a California kid. I mean, as a UCLA fan. So maybe. I think it's different when you're a kid from New Orleans who didn't get recruited by LSU. You get the opportunity to play against the Tigers. That's a little different, but we'll see. Metri Ron, 5 strikeouts is more than a bad day. LSU in this game, I know you're talking about Jones. Jones was 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. And Jones was in the 3-hole in this ball game, 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts, which is objectively very bad. But Jones isn't going to come out of the lineup. And I would tell you, I probably would have him in the 3-hole. I think he's been better of late in the 5. But the other thing to keep in mind is what exactly what happened in the Super Regional against West Virginia. And I just gave you, if you're with us, an example about watching Aaron Judge against the Red Sox literally last night, where in his first 3 at-bats, he was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. In his 4th at-bat, in the bottom of the ninth, or top of the 9th, in a 1-0 ball game, he hit a ball 433 feet that tied the game 1-1, which is why that guy doesn't come out of the lineup. It's kind of what baseball has become. You'll take 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts if the 1 is a homer. It changes the scoreboard. So I'm with you. It's not fun to watch. I would love to see Jared Jones be a little more intentional at the plate. be a little more selfless as a hitter instead of trying to rear back, bend, and elevate the baseball over and over again. When you watch Jared Jones, he does the Dylan Cruz thing when he comes up to the plate where he bends back and then gets in, and when he swings, you'll see him bend backwards. I had Terrio gave me this example, which is the best example I've heard. And again, this guy was a professional baseball player. He said, imagine if you're going to fight and you try to punch somebody and you lean back as you're punching. How much impact are you going to have on your target? Not much. I think that's kind of what's happened with Jones. It's interesting. It was an interesting illustration, but Jones will come up in a spot where he's got to be great, and he will be. Like he was against Tennessee when he homered in the extras, like he was against Arkansas in game 1, like he was in the Super Regionals when he homered in the 9th. It really sucks watching him struggle. It sucks watching the strikeouts. But the homers and the extra base hits are in there. I remember being at the College World Series in 2000 when Brad Cressy really struggled. Cressy was 0 for the College World Series before he finally hit a double off the wall against Florida State in the penultimate game, and then was 0 for in the championship game until he hit the game-winning single that scored Terrio. So it's kind of what it is, man. All right, please smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for being there with us live. If you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. Remember, we are live here on the Locked On LSU YouTube channel as soon as the games go final. So we appreciate you for being here with us. Chris at Coastal is the only team that scares me. Chris, Coastal, I agree with you. Coastal was my pick out of the other side of the bracket. I do think we'll see a Coastal LSU championship series. And if LSU has Anderson, Ianson queued up in the championship series, I'd pick LSU. I understand Coastal's a team that was a 50-game winner. They've got legit 3 starting pitchers. They can hit the ball. It's a very good baseball team. They were my pick on the other side of the bracket. So I'm with you. I'm with you very much on Coastal. But I like LSU because of Anderson, Ianson. And the best comp I can give you, and I hate to give you this comp, but it's what Ole Miss did in 21 when they had Dylan DeLucia and Hunter Elliott, and they rode those 2 guys straight through the postseason all the way to a national championship. When you have 2 dudes that are that good at the front of your rotation and you can stay in the winner's bracket with those 2 guys, you can roll all the way through to a championship. And nobody has a 1-2 like Anderson Ianson. As great as Arkansas is, Arkansas leads the SEC in batting average, leads the SEC in fielding percentage, a tick behind LSU in team ERA. They won 20 regular season SEC games. They beat Tennessee in their super regional. Like, Arkansas is the number 3 national seed. It's a great team. And they ran up against Kade Anderson. And that's twice now that LSU's beaten Arkansas with Kade Anderson on the bump. So you give me Anderson, Ianson in a winner's bracket scenario, I like LSU to go all the way through this thing and win the national championship. We'll see if they can. No matter what happens, we'll be right here on Locked On LSU. All right, let's get out of here, y'all. 2,000 people watching with us live here on a Saturday night. Appreciate y'all so much for being with us. Hey, if you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app, rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day for Locked On LSU. It's your team every day.